Well, good evening, attendees. I hope that you all are doing very well this evening. It is 8 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm here about 45 minutes west of the city of a brotherly shove, Philadelphia. And I am Dr. Bob Cannon. I'm very pleased to be here with you this evening and presenting to you in this open house, specifically focused on the grammar years. That's why that little guy is on the floor there in the living room with a book. I saw this picture and my immediate thought was, oh my word, I think that's probably how I would have been as a child. He looks like he's a handful, but the best sort, no? Here's a little look at our agenda for this evening. We're not going to keep you beyond an hour, but we might even keep you for less than that. So if your attention span struggles like mine does, you will be very grateful to us for closing this meeting in less than 60 minutes. At the same time, I hope that this time that we spend with you here this evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you may be, is productive and informative. And I trust that you will walk away with some terrific information, as well as perhaps some questions. And if you do walk away with questions, we will give you a way to find answers to those questions. You don't even have to ask Google. You can go to a human being at Veritas and any one of our family consultants, or the rest of us for that matter, will be quite happy to have conversation with you. So here's the agenda in short order. I'm not exactly going to read this slide to you. I don't like reading slides to people, but I'm going to capture some of the highlights, okay? By the way, I'm Dr. Bob Cannon, the headmaster of Veritas Scholars Academy, if I've not mentioned that already. Some of you have seen me before. I might even know some of you, having talked with you. And as for the rest of you, I hope we get the same opportunity. I'm always delighted to sit down and talk with our families. We're going to talk a little bit about what classical education is, classical Christian education, actually, to be even more precise. We'll talk a bit about the grammar stage of learning. That, of course, is the focus of this meeting. I'll say a few words about classical cursive. That's a curriculum that we think very well of. We'll do a grammar year overview. It's about at that point that I'm going to hand off to one of my colleagues to talk with you so that you're not just listening to me during this whole meeting. We'll talk about the diploma program in the grammar years, as I've mentioned a couple times here. Stepping Stones is something that's a relatively new addition to what we do, and it is a wonderful addition that helps our little guys acclimate to the live online environment. We'll talk a bit about mathematics in the grammar years and how to get started with Veritas Scholars Academy, VSA. How exactly do you start this journey with us? And incidentally, whether your student is in high school, junior high school, the grammar years, even as early as kindergarten, there are ways to start with Veritas, whether it's through curriculum, self-paced courses, live online courses, all the way up to and including, and we'll say a little more about this in a few moments, the diploma program, as we call it. That is our full-time program. Well, there's a lot to say there, but let's keep this moving. And then, last but not least, we'll have question and answer at the end of this meeting. So you'll have the opportunity to fire away with some of those good questions that you may have in mind. And we have a team of people behind the curtain here, including myself, to answer any questions that you may have. So what is classical education? The first bullet, as you see, we think that it's timely because it applies to today. It has terrific relevance to the way that students are learning today, especially in light of the way that we see many educational systems handling education. We think that we've actually got a bit of a leg up on how the young mind thinks, how the young mind develops, and the way that we have established our curriculum and our approach to teaching following a classical model. We think that we're acting to the advantage, to the benefit of our students. And in fact, it shows up in tangible ways, not only in things like students pursuing collegiate opportunities and succeeding there, but I'll tell you, we have many instances where our students, young and old, or shall I say, children and adolescents, they spend a little time with folks who come to spend time with us in our community. And that happens in various ways. But this feedback that I get from older and wiser individuals who spend time with these children and adolescents, they just kind of smile and they shake their heads and they look at us and they say, "You're doing something right with these children." There's something about the way that they're being educated, that they're respectful, they're articulate, they're thoughtful. And all of that actually is a direct result of classical Christian education. There is a connection. We're not just making that up. In fact, you'll hear a little bit in a moment about why those things are true. I just mentioned that they're respectful. I mentioned that they're articulate, and I mentioned that they're thoughtful. I probably should have also rounded that out by saying that they seem to be pretty well informed, even relative to other peers in their age groups. So, classical education, what they think, students that is, what they think, how they think about it or why they think it, and how do they communicate what they're thinking? How are they rhetorically effective with others? That's kind of a 30,000-foot view of what we're trying to accomplish in classical education. Now, you hear me talking about classical Christian education because our mission statement has Christ at the center. And so when we're educating students, we are not just educating them in a general secular kind of way, but rather through the lens of the scriptures, recognizing that all truth is God's truth. And this great creation that we observe around us, which includes all of the subjects and the academics that we cover, it has been, in fact, by the very word creation, that implies that there is a creator, and we worship him here. And we believe that even in what we're doing in the way of educating children is an act of worship as we teach our students to honor the Lord with all that they do and all that they learn. So classical education is actually pretty distinctly tied, as we see it, to Christian education. And, well, again, the results do speak for themselves. Classical education is structured as we approach this classical fashion of education. We believe that there are three stages of learning in the trivium. There's more to be said about learning stages moving into quadrivium learning stages, but we're focused here in this K-12 environment on the trivium of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. You'll sometimes hear logic referred to as dialectic, just a fancier word, but we'll most often call this grammar, logic, and rhetoric. I'll break it down very simply. You can read the slide if you like, but I'm going to put it this way. The grammar stage is where we teach students lots and lots of information. The little guys and gals are like sponges. They love to absorb lots of information, lots of facts, but not in boring fashion. I remember my grade school years, and there were times when I had a lot of fun learning, and there were other times where it was a little bit of a yawner. What we do is leverage things like songs and rhymes and chants, where we have students doing things like, to be really parochial about it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You all probably remember that from when you were in grade school. That was a classical way to learn the alphabet because you're using these devices like songs and rhymes and chants to remember. If you're trying to learn a modern foreign language, a terrific way to be introduced to a modern foreign language is by listening to songs that are sung in that modern foreign language. So there's something about the way that our brains are put together. It's the way that God has designed us to learn. So in the grammar years, we use these devices so that children can take in as much information as is appropriate. And oftentimes we sense that we're not reaching their limits, that they want more, and then they want more after that. When they reach the logic stage, which is essentially the middle school years for us, they are learning how to think about that information that they've taken in. And then when they move on from the logic or dialectic stage into the rhetoric years, think of that as being high school, grades 9 through 12, just to keep it simple, although there's a fluidity among these stages of learning. When they move into the rhetoric stage, we want them to take the information that they've gathered, how they've thought about that information, and now they're thinking about how to articulate this information and to make even greater meaning of it as they articulate to all those around them. Okay, so that's grammar, logic, and rhetoric. That's the trivium, and that's our approach to classical education. The next slide here is simply to say that the grammar stage is building a foundation in our learners. I don't have to explain to anyone here that if you construct the walls of a house and the ceilings and the roof and all of the material that goes into a building project, if you don't have a strong foundation, you know that chances are something wrong is going to happen. Bad things will ensue if the foundation is not well done, if it's not well laid. And we see it that way metaphorically, because when we educate our young students in the grammar stage specifically, where they're taking in all of this information, how are they to make sense of the information if the information isn't there already? How are they to articulate what they've made sense of if it's not there already? And by the way, if the information that is conveyed to students when they're young is not conveyed in such a way that they can effectively absorb that information, that they can take it in and remember it so that it's just instant recall when their minds ask them to recall something. If it's not taken in effectively, then they're not going to be able to bring it back out effectively when they look for that information inside themselves. So the manner in which we approach things like math and English, the subjects that we teach at the grammar level, history and scripture, if they're not able to take in that information in an effective manner, then we have not built the kind of strong foundation that we're seeking to build. There's something that I want to focus on the screen here. I said earlier that I'm not going to read slides to you, but if you see this last bullet, history with purpose, I'll tell you a very quick little story, which I think you'll find interesting. Before I entered into the realm of classical Christian education, I was doing research in education, and specifically, I was researching teaching. I wanted to know more about the teaching part of education. How does it happen, and what makes it truly effective? What are some of the methods that the best of the best are using? And I did study some of the very best in education. What are they doing to make education effective for the learner? And one of the things that I found was that people, places, events, these are all very important. People, places, and events. But something else that I discovered is that if you take those people, places, and events and put them on a chronological timeline, something powerful happens in the mind as it constructs a narrative of what's happened with those people, places, and events. And I came to Veritas about a dozen years ago, and I discovered that in this classical Christian frame, this is what was being done with things like the history and Bible cards here. I thought, wow, that is just brilliant. And I'm so enthused to learn that you're using these methods that even in many secular spaces I've discovered to be absolutely true and effective. So what do you know? I had a bit of an icebreaker before I even discovered Veritas Press and the Scholars Academy. And chronological facts, chronological timelines are a very powerful way to learn. So when we teach history and Bible and other subjects and we're able to put things on a timeline, guess what? It sticks. It works. Okay, enough on that slide, and I'm going to move on to this one. And I think that after this slide, oh yes, I will talk to you about classical cursive. But first, I just want to highlight the benefits of an education at the grammar level at VSA. I talked with you a bit about that strong foundation that we're seeking to build. Expert teaching from the start. We have wonderful curriculum from kindergarten onwards. A couple years ago, we introduced stepping stones courses. I don't see them mentioned here, but I think you're going to hear more about them eventually here. Stepping stones courses begin in second grade. We used to have live courses that began in third grade only, but then we said, what about these little guys who in second grade, we could give them an opportunity to have their mom or their dad sit next to them and to help them for a few months or maybe the first semester of school, getting acclimated to the live environment. Well, go figure. About 6 weeks in, a lot of these little guys in second grade are saying, Mom, I got this. You don't have to be here anymore. I'm loving the teacher. I'm loving the instruction. You can go do your thing, and I'm going to school. And so it happened more quickly than we expected it to. But those are the stepping stones courses that we're offering. So I hope that you're in pursuit, learning more about those stepping stones courses. They've been a wonderful addition, and I think that we may even continue to grow exactly what we're doing in that second grade space. But the courses that we have to offer are well worth checking out. At the grammar level, we're establishing the building blocks for lifelong learning. In other words, if you set the great foundation in second grade, third grade, and onward, by the time your students get to high school, they're well acclimated, they know how to learn, and they're going to be that much more successful. We've seen this happen over and over again. Students will develop time management, responsibility, confidence. The earlier you start them, the greater the opportunity there is for them to learn these things. There are rich classroom discussions in all of our classrooms. Some of those discussions are a bit more lively than others, such as in our omnibus classes. But in our school on the whole, we are not just talking heads in our classrooms. In fact, I have conveyed to our teachers at various points in time that if we're not hearing 50% student voices, we need to reevaluate the way that we're going about our instruction, because we really ought to be hearing student voices. We want for our students to participate actively in the learning, not just listening to what the teacher has to say, but actually listening to their peers, communicating what they're thinking, responding to the teacher. There are all sorts of ways that we engage students. That's the best learning environment that we can create. Global community, this cannot be underemphasized. Excuse me, it shouldn't be underemphasized. It cannot be overemphasized that our community here at Veritas is international. It is global. We have students all over the world, and it's a lot of fun to get into a classroom as a teacher and to see that you have students from 3 different countries and from a dozen different states around the United States domestically here. And these students really love getting to know each other for sure. Okay, one final word from me, and then we're going to turn this over to one of my colleagues. Classical cursive. Let's see. I'm going to put this in a nutshell for you. First of all, there are 4 books here you can see. They are focused on scripture and poetry, respectively. There's new curriculum in classical cursive that has come out. Improvements have been made to the curriculum, even from last year to this year. I won't go into all of the detail about those improvements, but I will simply say that we are thinking about the students' frames. We're thinking about what the content is about what they're learning. And as students use classical cursive to study, you'll find that they're not only learning how to write, but they're actually absorbing content that is well worth their time. It's very relevant. Things like scripture and poetry, as I mentioned. Perhaps the most relevant thing that I can say about classical cursive is that, interestingly, I observed that a number of years ago, there are school systems around the nation, perhaps worldwide. I don't know. I've not actually studied what's happening outside of the United States, but I know that in the United States, a lot of schools took penmanship out of the instructional time. And what's fascinating to me is that even secular organizations like National Public Radio, Psychology Today, um, I'm thinking about another one that I saw that you would certainly recognize, but it's not coming to mind. These organizations, um, they reacted in a very interesting way, an unusual way, recognizing that when students are writing, as opposed to typing, they're still using their hands and their fingers. They're still using their minds in a sense, even when they use a keyboard to type. But when using your hand to actually, with pencil or pen in hand, to write, there is something fascinating that's happening in the brain. There are certain connections that are being developed. And those connections are being lost if students are not actually writing with their hand on paper. And there are other ways to write, of course. You can think of digital tablets, for example. We actually make use of digital tablets in some of our classrooms. But this idea of a student having pen or pencil in hand and writing things out, letters and words, sentences, paragraphs, there's something that is happening in the mind that is powerful and very relevant to the way that students are learning today. So, wanted to bring that to your attention. I trust that you will even do your own research on penmanship. I think you'll be fascinated at what you find. The connections that are being made when students do this are just extraordinary. It seems like a very simple thing, but it's quite significant. With that, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to go off screen. And it was wonderful being with you here tonight. I'll see you at the Q&A in just a little bit.
Hello, parents. My name is Giselle Hoagland. I'm a current advisor with Veritas and also a mom of three diploma students with VSA. So I'm happy to share with you about our grammar year overview. As Dr. Bob shared, this stage is really crucial because it's laying a foundation, a strong foundation for our children that would definitely guarantee a successful academic performance in the higher years. For me, the most important thing is that during these years, we also build a very strong biblical foundation. And as Dr. Bob shared, our students really graduate from sixth grade and in higher grades with having a very strong biblical worldview, which I think is crucial for this time we live in. So during this year, we focus a lot in really mastering what is basic skills, data, and facts. And we incorporate this following courses: art, Bible, geography, grammar and writing, history, Latin, linguistics, reading, literature, math, and memory, period. So since kindergarten, our children are introduced to art all the way through sixth grade. So our parents are able to either teach those courses, as you do see the little icon of the books that there are you teach courses, or starting in third grade, art could be also taken either as a live online course. And we require our students to take at least one art class during kindergarten to sixth grade. For Bible, the same thing. We start with a very exciting curriculum since kindergarten and Bible in first grade. But as Dr. Bob mentioned, we start our chronological study of the Bible in second grade and all the way through sixth grade. And so we study Genesis to Joshua, all the way to Acts to Revelation. But here, the interesting thing is that starting in second grade, our students can try what is our self-paced courses, which I will talk to you a little bit more about it, which are great, but also we give the opportunity to the parents to teach those courses too. And geography, we introduced geography. It's a very fun curriculum, and we started in first grade. And in second grade, all the way to sixth grade, all the way, sorry, to fifth grade, we do geography South, Geography East, North, and West. Now, something that I want to emphasize is that geography is linked to the time in history that our students are studying during that school year, which for me, I think it is, as Dr. Bob said, is like putting all the pieces of the puzzle together and give the students a real overview of what's happening in time history in the Bible, in our historical facts, and in geography. So it puts all together, give them a very good overview that is really holistic. Grammar and writing, we introduce in first grade our grammar and writing with Shirley English, or we do classical academic press. And the same thing, it goes from first grade all the way to sixth grade. And this is a very important and crucial part, I should say, because our students really learn how to, like the basic grammar and writing skills that will later be able to, in seventh grade to go and take composition classes, write essays. And that's a very important thing in our curriculum. For history, I cannot say better things about it. I think this is one of the fascinating things that I personally love about our curriculum is history and the way that, as Dr. Bob mentioned, is a chronological order. We start since they're in kindergarten with our own curriculum is called Better History of Me, and then in first grade, Better History of the U.S. That's our You Teach courses. It's parents teach those classes, but in second grade, they can also take those classes via our self-paced courses. And the same thing, they are in chronological order from Old Testament and ancient Egypt all the way to 1815 to present. For Latin, which is the Swiss Army knife of all languages, we start in second grade as a You Teach course, but our kids can take those in live online classes from third grade all the way to sixth grade. And I would like to mention that some parents sometimes ask, like, why Latin? And I can tell you that in my case, my children, they really excel in the standardized test because they knew the root of the word. So, and it also opened them the ability, gave them that ability to study other languages like Spanish or French. For linguistics or spelling, we introduce a spelling in second grade all the way to sixth grade. Then we do reading and literature. You will be amazed the great literature your students, your children are exposed to. And the great thing is that all the books that they read, they are also analyzed in the light of the scripture. So we are really focused on reading. It goes from reading kindergarten and reading in first grade. We have our own curriculum for to teach the kids how to read. It's called Phonetics Museum. It's really fun. And then we start in second grade our literature to stepping stones that Dr. Bob introduced, that it is really a great program because it really familiarizes the students to our platforms to take later on our live online classes. And as he said, my children know better how to use those platforms than myself. So they're really savvy. But we do reading all the way to sixth grade. And then we do math. We use the curriculum of Saxon Math and Math UC. We do Saxon Math 1 year ahead. So our kindergarten students start with Saxon first grade all the way to sixth grade. So by seventh grade, our kids are taking Algebra 1. So it's a great curriculum. And then we do the memory period, and we require students to take that at least one course during that grammar year stage. It is, I will mention to it later, but it's basically is reviewing the knowledge that they've been acquiring through songs. And that's a great way to review their math facts, their history facts, and even science facts. So that is an overview of our grammar year overview. So we go to the next slide. So we are aware that every child is unique and every child learns different. So Veritas really offers parents different ways that may work better for your children. So either we do the You Teach courses, the self-paced courses, or the live online classes. The You Teach is a traditional homeschooling parent-taught curriculum, but the plus here is that we offer you a scripted lesson. So if you decide to teach those classes, you are going to get Lessons is scripted with the material, super easy, and it helps you to stay organized and on track. The other option is self-paced courses that, as I mentioned, we offer those for our online and Bible courses, as well as the omnibus that is for higher grades. And it combines really engaging videos, interactive exercises, free games, building quizzes, but it also helps to reduce the load of teaching, especially if you have more than one child. You can really stay yourself organized knowing that your children are really learning their Bible and their history and with no loopholes. The third one is live online classes. These are classes taught by expert teachers in Veritas virtual classroom, and we covering every subject that Veritas offers. These are great classes online, super engaging, and also it helps you reduce the load of teaching and brings peace of mind that your child will reach their ultimate potential. So these are three great options for that we offered during the whole grammar year stage, but also in our higher grades, all the way to 12th grade. Then, so as we mentioned, really the grammar stage is about laying a very strong foundation. So during pre-K through second grade, in pre-K and kindergarten, we're going to build a foundation in very specific subjects like art, Bible, math, reading and phonics, and history. We're making it fun and interacting. There's a lot of singing, a lot of like just games, arts, crafts, and it helps really to introduce our little ones to a daily rhythm with organized playtime. In first grade, we start introducing different courses like geography, grammar and writing, and we continue with reading, history, Bible, and math. We make it fun, as I mentioned, but here our children are going to experience more structure and start preparing them to a heavier load of studying, but always fun and interactive. In second grade, we keep building a foundation of those subjects that I mentioned, like history, Bible, math, geography, grammar, writing, and reading. But here is where our stepping stone program starts. And this is great because we allow the little ones to sit with their parents, like Dr. Bob mentioned, and take a live class and interact and meet other kids and have discussions. So this is a very smooth transition to live online classes. The same thing in second grade, our children can start taking the self-paced classes for Bible and history. It's the progress goes at the pace that fits your child. It continues being flexible, but it helps also to connect with other children. Then our live classes are for students starting in second grade, as I mentioned before. And this is available for our full-time students, but also for our part-time students from second grade to 12th grade. And these are worldwide, as Dr. Bob mentioned. We have a very big international community and local community. We offer these live online classes either during the school year or during the summer. We have around 175 expert teachers in our virtual classroom using our curriculum. And we use what is the university model. It means that our live classes meet twice a week, either Mondays and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays for an hour and a half for 32 weeks. We offer honor level high school courses with the option for dual enrollment and advanced placement. This is great for higher grades. I cannot tell you about it. I have a son that will be senior this year, and we've been taking advantage of those courses, and it really has been a blessing. Estimated 3 to 6 hours outside work per week per course. That includes their homework, projects, quizzes, paper, labs, etc. I should mention that we usually don't have classes on Friday. Those Fridays are usually the days where kids submit their projects, their tests, etc. There's an active participation in live classes. It's very important, as Dr. Bob mentioned, engagement. So our teachers know about it and about the importance of discussion, about the importance of having our children really paying attention and learning and contributing and make them think. So this active participation definitely contributes to the student's grade. Also, a thing that is really positive is our course assignment sheets that are distributed during each quarter. So even before the academic year starts, all the teachers post their the course assignment sheets. So you as a parent know exactly the assignments that your child has for the whole school year and plan ahead if you want to take a vacation or you're planning something during the school year, you can plan ahead. They are mentored by other adults. Teachers grades the students' work and offer comments, and children build community with other students. And I should mention that we offer course options that are available for all time zones, which is like incredible. So this is a map that shows you where our community, where our students are. Definitely, we are an international school, and it makes the environment very enriching for our students, for the teachers, but also shows the quality and the high academic standard of our program. So that gives you a little overview about how amazing the school is. Now, for a diploma full-time in the grammar years, just to close that, it definitely builds a strong academic foundation for long-term success. You're going to see that as your child grows, how they are building a really strong academic foundation. It allows early fulfillment of graduation prerequisites. You'll never have this thought, oh, is my child behind? You will know that we're covering all the bases, that they have that strong foundation. It also increases the access to electives and advanced courses, as I mentioned before, and it supports earning honors and highest honors distinctions. It also helps students adjust gradually to academic rigor and fosters lasting friendships and a strong peer for community. It also provides dedicated guidance from a personal academic advisor. It is really a great program. So now with this, I end and I give the floor to my colleague. Thank you.
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Summer Weaver. I'm excited to introduce you to our two Stepping Stones classes. A lot has been said about these courses, but I want to share a little bit more. We are offering Stepping Stones Literature and Memory and Stepping Stones Grammar Basics. As Dr. Bob mentioned, both of these courses will give the second grade students a taste of live classes, but with a very gentle and slow start. The courses are designed to have mom or dad sit alongside their child, helping navigate the classroom for at least the first part of the year. Most students will be ready to move on by themselves by the end of the second quarter, or perhaps even earlier than that. Stepping Stones Literature and Memory is a delightful class. The class is divided into two sections. The first part of the class is dedicated to literature. Students will read through the wonderful books in the Veritas Press second grade You Teach curriculum. And this part of class will focus on reading and comprehension. The second part of class is a fast-paced and fun way to stay on track with the other second grade curriculum. During memory periods, students will sing songs, develop study habits, and the skill of memorization as they go through a lot of different curriculum. Stepping Stones Grammar Basics is a new class that we will be offering this fall. It is designed to equip students with the necessary skills for future grammar and writing classes at Veritas. Students will build a solid grammar foundation while they learn the parts of speech, the question answer flow, basic sentence structure, how to write paragraphs, and editing skills. The class will use Shirley English Level 2 to develop their grammar knowledge, and then we'll put on our detective hats and jump into Fix-It Grammar to reinforce parts of speech and develop editing skills. Upon completing Stepping Stones Grammar Basics, students will be well prepared to transition into one of the grammar and writing options in third grade. And at third grade is the stage where we start using a formal writing curriculum in class as well. There are two options for grammar and writing. Grammar and Writing Shirley IEW. IEW is Institute for Excellence in Writing, or Grammar and Writing CAP, Classical Academic Press. Both are fantastic. In both Grammar and Writing Shirley IEW and Grammar and Writing CAP courses, students will learn the parts of speech. Now, I do want to mention that Grammar and Writing CAP 5 and 6, students are expected to have a very strong knowledge of the basic 8 parts of speech. At this level in the CAP curriculum, those 8 parts of speech are not taught or reviewed, but they're just amplified. Now, that's a little bit different with Shirley. Shirley uses the spiral method, and so each level will start from the beginning with the parts of speech. Some other similarities between these classes is students will learn to analyze or classify sentences. They will learn jingles as a part of the learning process, and both courses do require supervision from time to time. Now, let's just review a few of the differences between the courses. CAP is for students with strong reading capabilities. In CAP, students will complete 4 books for each grade level, and students start diagramming sentences in grade 4. CAP has a strong focus in literature and writing, and the CAP writing is more of a freestyle writing. Surely IEW would be for the student who needs more structure and more help, I would venture to say. It has a stronger focus on parts of speech and how they work together in a sentence. And the writing is more well defined. It's more of a systematic approach. They have checklists that they have to use to make sure that all of the stylistic techniques are in their paragraphs and in their sentences to help improve their sentences. Both of these options are wonderful options and they start in 3rd grade. And we have our grammar and writing CAP and grammar and writing Shirley IEW from grade through 3 all the way through grade 6. And next, Mrs. Martin is going to share a little bit about math.
I'm coming. Let me find my webcam pod. There it is. Okay. So hi parents and those watching. I'm going to speak just for a few minutes about the overview of our mathematics classes in the grammar years. We certainly start, as we've mentioned before, with a very strong foundation. Math at the grammar level, particularly pre-K through 2nd grade, teaches students to see patterns, structure, and logic. The grammar stage focuses on memorization and mastery of basic facts, and this is the ideal time for students to absorb things like number sense, addition facts, early geometry skills. And just as children easily memorize songs or even Bible verses, they are also primed to internalize good, solid math facts at this age. Math at this level certainly integrates well with other disciplines, including science and language. And we have an emphasis on mastery to ensure that students are prepared for the logic stage that they'll get to later on. So they'll apply these facts to more complex problems. Skills like comparing, classifying, and identifying relationships will build critical thinking abilities early. So we want them to have confidence as they progress through their math years. The courses we offer from Math K through Math 2 are the You Teach with Saxon 1 or Math UC Alpha, Saxon 2 or Math UC Beta, and Saxon 3 or Math UC Gamma. We do have online courses as well as the You Teach courses offered from Math 3 through Math 6, Math 3 Saxon 5-4 or Math UC Delta, Math 4 Saxon 6-5 or Math UC Epsilon, Math 5 Saxon 7-6 or Math UC Zeta, and Math 6 Saxon or Math UC Pre-Algebra. We've also, in the last couple of years now, offered a summer pre-algebra refresher course. I do want to mention that we're looking into and offering some new Saxon courses. This year we'll be offering some transition courses, which will help students get to their particular necessary grade level. We don't want any student to feel that there's been any holes or gaps, and so those courses will bridge across 2 of these at a time. And then looking into the following school year, we may even be offering some Saxon accelerated courses. So certainly a lot of good things going on in our math courses. We can go to the next one. Just a little bit of comparison. A lot of parents are always curious with the differences and similarities between Math UC and Saxon. They are both great curricula, and so we just want to briefly take a moment to look at the differences. The Math UC is more hands-on, more visual, more tactile. Learners do well with Matthew C. It's a very concentrated pace, whereas the Saxon pace is more accelerated and goes through lessons a little bit faster. So only one lesson per week for Matthew C. and 4 lessons per week in the Saxon courses. Both do use hands-on and manipulative practices and skills for students to work on. The percent or the ratio of new material to review does vary slightly between Matthew C and Saxon. As you can see, the Matthew C has about 58% new versus 42% review with the homework problems, and in the Saxon courses, it's 20% new and 80% review. That spiral approach is certainly beneficial for students who just constantly need that sprinkled back in throughout their lessons. So repetition in Matthew C is just in one big chunk. And as I said, the Saxon very much focuses on the spiral approach there. So a lot of learners just want to know the why and the how. The deep thinkers who reflect and evaluate, those thinkers tend to do better with Matthew C. And in our Saxon courses, students who appreciate step-by-step reproducing what is taught, certain algorithms, and being able to execute those things, being able to check off a task and just moving on to the right process or the next step required. Of course, students that do that well will succeed in Saxon. So we just absolutely here at Veritas love the opportunity to train the heart and mind of students. We want them to love the truth, seek order, and appreciate the beauty of God's design. Thank you. I'll pass it along to the next presenter.
All right, everyone. Well, I hope that on that last slide, let me just go there one more time. I hope that you'll even copy this down or maybe click on it if you're able to. I don't know that you're able to actually click on it, but veritaspress.com/stories is a place to go to hear directly from our students. There are testimonials present there. I hope that you'll take a moment to read some of those. There's nothing like hearing from our students themselves about the impact that the Veritas education they've received has had on them as they prepare to move on to collegiate and even employment lives. These pictures are worth 1,000 words, maybe more. You can see even a progression. This is kind of fun. I think that all of these photos are taken during our end of year gathering, which happens typically at the end of May, beginning of June. We've been doing this gathering now for, I think it's at least 15 years, might even be longer than that. And every year we have families and students come together in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. At least we have hosted it in Lancaster to date. And I don't know that that'll be the case in perpetuity, but Lancaster's been home base for a long time now, despite our being a global institution. And in fact, this past year, we had 1,300 people show up in Lancaster from all over the United States and even distant places. I think actually one international family brought about a dozen family members to see their child graduate. So lots of good happens here, and you can even see the progression from left to right of these young guys and gals who are in our school, and they make their way all the way across the graduation stage. Um, and we like to stay in touch with our alumni as well. So you're not done with us at graduation. We actually love to stay in touch because once you're a part of the Veritas family, I guess you're always a part of the Veritas family. Let's see. Family consultants are mentioned here because they are a seminal part of our work. We have a lot of families who have these last several years had very meaningful conversations with this wonderful group of ladies who we call family consultants. They will bend over backwards to help you acclimate to who and what Veritas is and how it is we do what we do, even the why of the mission that we're pursuing. And if you'd like to talk with someone here at Veritas, it's gratis. You do not need to pay to get onto a phone call with one of our family consultants. We welcome these conversations, and we love to just hear from you all as families what your educational journey has been so far, and what we might be able to do for you as an organization who's focused on the mission of restoring culture to Christ, one young heart and mind at a time. And I think that it is now a good time for Q&A, although before we go to the Q&A, I want to make mention of something in the event that it's, I don't want it to slip off our radar here. We will have a grammar ebook that we are releasing, and in fact, it will be sent to you as quickly as tomorrow, perhaps the next day, depends on how quickly our folks behind the curtain here will pull the ebook together, get the list of families who have been here, and send that ebook to you, compliments of us. And we hope that you find not only a meeting like this to be informative, but this grammar ebook is designed also to give you another taste of what classical Christian education is, especially for your grammar level students, and who Veritas is, our DNA, as we like to sometimes say, because we're not just generally speaking, a classical Christian organization and school, but we are well regarded in this space. And we like to, as our president sometimes says, assume the center of a conversation and to be available as a resource to families so that when you wonder, what is classical Christian education about, that we would be some of the first people that you would think of, and we will do our very best to help you understand what it is we're doing here and the value that you would find in it. So, again, back to our question and answer time here together. If you think that VSA might be a good fit for your family, for your young learners, talking with a family consultant is, of course, an excellent way to move forward. But I wonder, what questions might we have here during this meeting? And please feel free to, well, let's see. I'm looking at a document where it's possible that we would have questions coming in. Okay. My student is 4 years old. What do you recommend for pre-K? Um, I'm going to answer that question one way, and then I'm going to defer to a family consultant. I'm going to suggest that you get in touch with us and have a conversation with a family consultant who can talk with you about pre-K years, but also about what it might prepare your student to do in kindergarten and first and second and beyond. But when your student at the age of 4, you're obviously an engaged parent and you want to see your student thrive, both short term and long term. I'm going to suggest that you should be watching your 4-year-old and taking note of what your son or daughter is most interested in. And don't hone in on just one thing. Take note of all of the things that your child is interested in. I'll share that on a personal front. My wife and I watched our young children and the things that they enjoyed doing most. And the story of our eldest is that she just wanted to grab books that we made available to her. We had a little book bin that we kept the books with lots of picture books, of course. And she would go in there and grab the picture books. And a funny story for you all, when she was just 4 years old, she was pretending to read the books. And it didn't take long before she started talking as though she was actually reading the books. And my wife and I scratched our heads one day and said, wait a second, that's sounding a lot like what that book is about. And wouldn't you know, the little darling was teaching herself how to read. So we thought, well, we better get on the stick with this one. And so we started to pursue her education a bit more vigorously than just watching her. But the most crucial thing you can do for your young student, for a 4-year-old son or daughter, is observe them. Take note of what they're doing, take note of what they're interested in, and don't lose sight of that, because that may actually help direct the path of how you would educate them and the subjects that they'd be most interested in. What is the easiest age to start kindergarten is another question here. I see that we have Joyce Kang, one of our family consultants, on screen here. Joyce, do you want to grab that question and answer?
Sure, thanks, Bob. You answer very, very complete on the first question. So what is the easiest age to start kindergarten? I can answer this as a personal experience. I feel like is whenever your child is showing curiosity and learning, and that is when you start start with the curriculum. You can introduce your curriculum at a slower pace and get, that's the advantage of homeschooling, is that you can do everything at your own pace. You can speed it up as your child learns and understand the materials, or you can slow down if you need more extra time. So it's definitely, there's no a certain age, and I would say that like Dr. Cannon said, that just observe your child as they grow and learn and show interest, and you will know that when they are interested in learning different things, like they start counting, they start wanting to learn the letter sounds, the names, and so on. So yeah, let's see.
Thank you, Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other questions that you all may have? I see that it's 8:58, so maybe we have time for another question or two, but let me emphasize that as you're thinking about what you may have heard here this evening, as you, as I sometimes say, as your head hits the pillow, you think of something that you really should have asked here, or something that you'd love to have answered, please don't be bashful with us. We'd love to hear from you. Just reach out to us, and we will set you up with a family consultant to have a conversation. And it looks like we don't have other questions in the chat. So let me close with this. I'm going to ask that you keep your eyes on your email, because this new grammar ebook that I referenced a few moments ago will in fact be sent tomorrow in the replay video. We'll send you an archive of this meeting. You can use this archive, of course, to review what you might have heard here this evening if you think that you missed something. It's great something to listen to while you're cooking or working out in the garage. But let me also encourage you to please feel free to share this with your friends if you'd like to spread the word about what we're doing here, or even if you just want to encourage some young moms and dads with educating their grammar school children. Even if you choose not to join us here at Veritas, I do pray that this meeting has been helpful to you and that you've taken something away from it, having learned something about what you might do to set your children up for educational success in the grammar years. That's my hope and prayer for you. And with that, why don't I ask that we bow our heads and hearts, and let's lift this time up to the Lord just in thanksgiving, as it's 9 p.m. now. And let me close us out in prayer, if I may. Lord, thank you for giving us this time. We should never take for granted an opportunity to interact with people and to even bless them with knowledge of how they might go about the education of their children. I pray your blessing on their households, Lord, that ultimately and best of all things that might result from meetings like this, that families would be inspired to have their children draw close to you, Lord, not just when they go to church on Sundays or Wednesday evenings, but Lord, even in the education that they pursue, as they learn about creation, as they learn about subjects like math and Latin and English and history, Lord, that they would see your handwriting all over all of the truth that they would have exposure to, because we do know that all truth is your truth, Lord. We believe in your sovereignty and your love for us and your desire that we would pursue learning to ultimately bring honor to your name. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here tonight. Wonderful having you, and we hope to talk with you again real soon.